Let me give. Oh, hold on.
I couldn't log in on this forum with my Gmail address.
Yeah.
I learned immediately afterwards that forum was private, which I hate, but there's nothing I can do about it. So I'm just gonna have to, go over it, I guess. But
okay.
That's probably what was going to happen anyway, and is going to be better. So it's awesome. Okay, let's see here. Okay, cool. So in fact, I'm gonna. So it started out with me just trying to think of like exercises to do for grandpa so that we could start to understand like some of the pieces parts a little bit better, because I was struggling to remember all of the like definitions, like what is G, what is E, and they kind of depend on one another sometimes, so it was hard to go through the definitions. And so I was like, all right, well, let's just do some practice with each definition, and then maybe they'll become second nature and I'll be able to play through a game. And so I started out by just trying to come up with like, these are pretty basic ones. Like I didn't even draw blockchain diagrams yet, and we can do some, but to start practice calculating like the 2/3 ghost rule and stuff. And oh yeah, and I noticed that last week I had those diagrams that I was posting, and I was doing G calculations wrong in all of them because I forgot the 2/3 part. So G is not just the ghost rule; it's actually like it's ghost rule, but when you start out and while you still have supermajority, and then when you don't have supermajority anymore, then stop going. Like don't get all the relief that only has.
Could you say that again, Joshi? We just kind of missed that.
Yeah, totally. So maybe we should do a diagram too, just to get one in here. What if I do it like this? So if we have like some blockchain, and I'll put some forks in it. There we go. So that's just some chain. And then I've been playing these with 4 validators because it's enough to handle an equivocation and not anymore. So if we just like annotate some votes on this chain, and I'm not even going to specify whether they're like pre-votes or pre-commits or whatever. Maybe it's not even grandpa, but we're going to use this 2/3 ghost rule. So, okay. Oh, I guess pink and orange are kind of similar, but this one's orange down here. So now we have to say, like, if we want to calculate G, I guess in this case it's just V. I didn't put any like particular round number on there. So we start at the top block and we say like, okay, well, according to the ghost rule, which means all the subtrees, do we have 2/3 majority here? And we do. We have all 4 out of 4 votes descending this one. So how about there? Do we have 2/3 majority there?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then how about either one of its children?
Yeah.
On the left one.
Yeah, bingo. That's right. Okay.
Oh.
And then how about any of its children?
No. This is the last one.
Exactly. So this is where G of V is, if V is this set of votes that we drew here.
And this is from perspective of one of these 3, right?
Yeah, exactly. This
must be.
Okay. Yeah, it must be from some perspective, right? So like whoever's perspective or whatever perspective knows about these 4 votes that I drew, they get G of V right there.
Oh, you're saying, yeah, it doesn't matter which one of them, right?
Yeah, not for this exercise. We're just focusing on this G function, so it doesn't really matter whose perspective we're looking at.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, cool. So like that, I'm glad we did that, and I think we'll get it right in the future. But the mistake that I was making last time was that I kept going according to just regular ghost and saying like, okay, well, there's 2 votes on the right and 1 to the left, so I went here and then I went here. But those last 2 steps were not correct for the 2/3 ghost rule.
Sorry, can you just explain? You said in your comments that you're counting votes, but not from previous round. This is just the votes in this round. you're not looking anything what happened before.
Yeah. So
or this is not part of the G function. This is
yeah, the G function itself just takes some set of votes and doesn't care what set of votes. But you're exactly right that in the Grandpa protocol, the way we use G is that we give it a set of either pre-votes or pre-commits, and they're always from a specific round. We never use G in a way that's like, consider the set of all pre-votes from all previous rounds or anything like that.
And I'm especially thinking on a case that maybe some previous block are not finalized at all. Maybe we are on the wrong branch. But you are saying the G function doesn't know that. It's just counting blocks.
G function doesn't know or care anything, or well, actually that might not be totally true. Let's make sure I say that right. I was going to say that the G function doesn't know or care anything about Grandpa or finalization. It's just like one of the ingredients, but let's make sure and see if that's true. I'm not sure if I remember. Oh, here we go. Yeah. So the 2/3 ghost function, G of S, takes a set of votes S and returns some block, which is the one highest down the chain, such that S has a supermajority for B. Yeah, so G as itself, as a function, the 2/3 ghost rule, doesn't know or care anything about finalization.
But here doesn't say that you're taking rounds.
That's right, because G is just a function that's parametric in some S. So like we could take this concept of G and use it in totally other consensus algorithms or whatever. So like they've introduced G here as a function, and then later the way we use it, so here's the Grandpa protocol. So we use it like here, for example, and we apply it to the set of pre-votes from round R. So that's kind of small.
Oh, I see.
Or we use it up here and we apply it to like the set of pre-votes from round R-1, but it's always that specific. It's never like all rounds with R less than or equal to this one or anything like that.
Okay. Votes in one round. Oh, okay.
Yeah. And sometimes it's pre-commits too. It's not always pre-votes. Although I can't.
Sorry, I didn't read the paper. Also.
That's okay.
So I just want to ask you, you said that there is no difference between the pre-votes and pre-commits, right? The same rules apply, right?
In terms of, what do you mean? Like if you're calculating G over a set of votes, G doesn't care whether you're doing pre-votes or pre-commits or, your vote for the prettiest block or whatever it is, just some sets of votes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so let's see.
Do you have a better idea yet of like kind of pre-votes and pre-commits and like what their purpose serves?
Yeah, so the thing that I started to say last week, it turned out to be correct. I'm more confident now, which is that the pre-votes are basically based on, let's just look at the paper here. My intuition is that they're basically based on the chain as you've seen it. Like you've been watching the block production mechanism, you've seen blocks get produced. Based only on what blocks you've seen, you cast your pre-vote. So the words are right here. They pre-vote for the head of the best chain containing this estimate of what might have been finalized in the previous round. So when you're casting your pre-vote, it only depends on this estimate for the previous round, which basically, let's see, let's think about that.
You said estimate on the previous round.
Yeah, that's what this ER-1 represents. It's so this is what I was saying about like the definitions depend on one another.
Yeah.
Okay,
so E is always dependent on G, right?
Yeah.
Like E is either the current G that you just computed or a previous G that you computed in a previous round.
Yeah, the definition of E was right here. We define E to be a validator's estimate of what might have been finalized in round R. Or, like down below, we saw they were using R-1. which is given by the last block in the chain with the head, and then it depends on this G of the prevotes. Yeah. So, okay, so to get back to the question then, so like what's the difference between the prevotes and the precommits? When you cast your precommit, then you're considering the prevote. So at that point, you're also considering information about like what the peers are voting for. So you're like considering other people's prevotes. Whereas when you cast your own prevote, you were considering only the blocks that have been produced.
Okay.
Yeah.
And these three things down here are the conditions for pre-commits.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's look at my cheat sheet here for a second. I started to make some sense of this. So I've got the same table here. This is the same steps directly from the paper. And then I started to write my own like just transcription of what it says in a way that maybe made more sense. So you can start a round. That was step one, right? Like when can a particular participant start this round? And the answer is fairly straightforward. Well, first of all, the previous round has to be completable, or at least you as a voter have to see that the previous round is completable. And you have to finish having cast your votes in all previous rounds. So
okay.
To me, that sounded pretty straightforward. And I was like, oh yes, that's part of this that I can finally memorize. Like previous voting and the previous round is completable, then we can move on. Okay, so then the pre-vote phase.
And then when you say the previous round is finished, right? You mean all the pre-votes and pre-commits are done. You have it and you concluded. What's this?
Yeah, completable is a technical vocab word that they've introduced in this paper, which I've also started to take notes on up here. So there's two ways that you can observe that a round is completable, and here they are. The first one is that your 2/3 ghost estimate on your 2/3 ghost estimate on the pre-votes has moved on, as I'm saying it, like it's further down the tree. That's what strictly greater than means, than your estimate, this like ER. So that's one of them. And then the other one is that it's impossible for the 2/3 ghost estimate on the pre-commits to be strictly greater than the 2/3 ghost estimate on the pre-votes.
So you're saying that if you want to, is it correct to say that in each round that you want to consider as completable, you must observe result from this G function to be not the same block as the previous round, but the block on that chain as an ancestor. Is this what you are saying for this first condition?
Yeah. So yeah, if you want to decide that round R is completable based, so just to let you guys know, completable is the exercise that I got stuck on. So I'm glad we got to this so quickly. If you want to decide that a round is completable based on this first condition, it must be the case that you're like, oh, I wish that didn't happen. Your 2/3 ghost estimate on the pre-votes must be a descendant on the same chain of this E of R, but notice it's the same R. It's not like R-1 in either case. So these are both for the same round.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So E, we'll talk about E really soon. E is something that you're, just like G of V and G of C, E is something that you're constantly updating as new votes are coming in. And so the definition of E is that it has to be, we called it the best block in the chain with the head of this thing, G of V. So like we've got this 2/3 ghost estimate somewhere on V, on the set of pre-votes. Then we're going to define E to be either that same block or something, one of its ancestors. And the second constraint for E is that it must still be possible for that block to eventually have 2/3 majority on the pre-commits. So let's just do one right now because we've.
I like this when you say moved. Is this correct? You're expecting that you made some progress in each round, right?
Yeah, by progress you mean like that you've.
At least.
I'm not yet clear whether we can expect that we finalize a block in each and every round. I don't know whether that's the case.
I don't mean finalize, but just that it's possible to finalize it in the future.
Yeah.
So it's if you want to satisfy this equation, you must find block that is at least one level behind this parent that you had before as a result of G.
Yeah, that might be. I'm not totally 100% sure I have the same picture in my head that you do. Do you want to try to draw one out?
I'm just thinking of this that you said that you need to have another block, not that can be finalized.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know if that's true or not. It definitely could be the case. I'm just not really sure.
Okay.
Okay, so let's just try to set one up here. So one thing I like is that we can just draw these blockchains. These things came from the block production mechanism, not from our game. So we can just like create whichever one we want without having to worry about consensus at all. So let's just say like we've got some pre-votes in here, and I'll indicate them with V's. Okay. So that's our pre-vote. Or in fact, let's not even put them all in yet. Let's say we haven't seen this orange one yet. So, in fact, let's say we haven't even seen this blue one yet. So here's the question. What is G of V based on this chain? We've got 4 validators here, or 4 voters.
I guess it would be the last block before they split.
This fork one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's a good guess. That's definitely we're like on the right track. But I think in this case we say G of V equals nil because we don't yet have supermajority for any of these blocks.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Right.
So that tripped me up a little bit too. Okay, so then now if we do put the blue vote in here, now we can say we have supermajority. And I think now it's where you said before. Right here. Okay, so that's great. And now that we have G of V, now that we have this 2/3 ghost estimate on the pre-votes, now we can start to ask ourselves, okay, where is E? And so E, let me find the definition in the paper and then we'll put it on that figure. So it's this top of this paragraph starting about right here. We define E to be V's estimate of what might have been finalized in round R. And here's how we actually calculate it. Given by the last block in the chain with head G of V, for which it's possible for C to still have a supermajority. So it's the last block in the chain with head G of V. That means it's the last block in this chain for which it's possible for the pre-commits to still have a supermajority. So I like to try starting with G, and if this block doesn't work, then moving backwards up the chain until one of them does. So then the question is it still possible for this block that I've labeled E to have a supermajority in pre-commits?
So we have to remember how pre-commits are made.
I didn't even think about that, Jay. Yeah, not every one of these blocks can have pre-commits cast for it. That's a great point.
Why is that? Can you have pre-commits if you don't have all the pre-votes?
Yeah, so the rule for when you're allowed to cast your pre-commit is you have to wait 4 time periods. So And there's some other rules, I guess, but that's one of them.
So can we say that I'm thinking of this timeout like behavior.
Yeah.
What happened after this timeout? Can you say now I have all the votes, or sorry?
Yeah, you're saying like what happens after? So like I've sat here and waited for 4T, and like, then what happens?
Yes.
Yeah. So once you've done that, then you say to yourself like the reason they're choosing this time is because we chose T, or we estimated T to be the amount of time that is reasonable for me to expect a message to come in over the network. So given how big our network is and our general connectivity speeds, I think it's reasonable to receive all the messages in T, whatever that is. For the pre-vote step, we wait 2T, which is basically just saying like, look, that's long enough that we should have seen the votes. If we haven't seen them yet, we want liveness, so we're moving on anyway. And then similar thing here. So now it's up to 4T, but that really means 2T before the pre-vote round and 2T before the pre-commit round. And so now that we're on the pre-commit round, we're basically saying like, okay, I'm going to wait my 2T. That's long enough that I should have seen all of the, stuff in the previous rounds and all of the pre-votes from this round. And then I'm going to go ahead and cast my vote with the information that I have.
Oh, and how you will cast your vote?
Yeah. Okay. Right. Good. So once all these, enough of these conditions are met, the yellow underlined part here says you broadcast your pre-commit for whatever the 2/3 goes through on the pre-votes is telling you.
Oh, interesting.
But if you are on pre-votes.
Yeah, like if I'm still on step 3, like if I'm still trying to cast my pre-vote.
Yeah, exactly on your graph. Right. You have 3 pre-votes.
Yeah.
But you could have this situation that you have only 2. And
yeah,
what will be your vote in this situation?
Oh,
you will say nil, or you can choose whatever you want.
Yeah. So let me make sure I understood the question correctly first. You're saying like consider this scenario we were in earlier where we had only seen 2 of the pre-votes. This is less than a supermajority. So I don't even have G of V yet because I don't have supermajority anywhere in the pre-votes. And I'm sitting here waiting for more votes to come in. It's been 4T. I still don't have a supermajority. What the heck am I supposed to do?
Right. 2T for pre-votes.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wait. You're asking are you asking how should I cast my own pre-vote or my own pre-commit?
Your own pre-vote.
Oh, your pre-vote. Okay, good question. Yeah.
Yeah.
So your pre-vote, so starting right here, they pre-vote for the head of the best chain that contains their estimate from the previous round. So I will say I haven't gotten far enough into a game yet without getting stuck on something else to see how that estimate from the previous round really plays out. So far I've always been using this, the edge case is that when you first start, E0 is by definition the genesis block. So that hasn't really come up for me yet. Yeah.
Oh, you mean you always consider that you have a previous votes from previous round?
Yeah, exactly. So I drew this thing here without labeling the top block at all. It either is the genesis block, which means it's E0 by definition, or it's just implicitly E of R minus 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
And let's consider that we have pre-votes from previous round. But what can you do now in this round?
You're saying to cast my pre-vote, like if I'm the blue validator here, how do I pre-vote?
Yeah.
I pre-vote for the head of the best chain that contains this thing from the previous round. So for me, based on what we've seen here that I've drawn so far, I would pre-vote like this.
You will cast your vote on this block, but your G function will tell you the genesis, right?
Well, before
no. Your G function will tell you nothing.
That's right. G tells me nil, but luckily G is not necessary for casting your pre-vote. Because for your pre-vote, we again starting right here, we pre-vote for the head of the best chain containing the E from the previous round. So luckily we don't have to have a G in order to cast our pre-vote. We only need a G in order to cast our pre-commit.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Okay. I guess that stops like the race condition or like getting stuck.
Oh yeah. Like
because that would allow everybody to do a pre-vote before they have to decide the G, which means that everybody can.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Okay, so let's see how this plays out. So Tomislav, here's what I thought you were asking, which I don't know the answer to. So like if we've got these pre-votes, and so we say G of V is here, and so far E is still. Oh no, that's not what I thought. What I thought you were asking was, let's say we only have 2 pre-votes, so we don't have any G yet. We can't calculate, or we can calculate it, and it gives us nil. And then we've waited a really long time, long enough that we should be allowed to cast our pre-commit now. But we don't know what to pre-commit for because we don't have a super majority in the pre-votes. So I'm not sure what happens in that scenario. Yeah.
But you should definitely you must. You're now on the on your turn to cast pre-commit, right? Is this implies that you already cast your pre-vote?
Yeah. Yes. So
that would be if you were green or red in that case, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Like, so yeah, the green and red here have both pre-vote. So if the other conditions, like they've waited long enough and stuff, are met, then they're ready to pre-commit. If we're the blue validator, we definitely can't pre-commit yet because we haven't even pre-voted yet.
And in this situation, I'm thinking that this blue validator, he can choose which branch he wants to follow, right?
Yeah. So if we're blue validator and we're being honest, we vote down here. But yeah, no one's going to know what we've seen. So if we wanted, we could vote here or here, or I mean, really even up here. Yeah.
And the definition of best chain is longest chain?
That's a good question, Jay. I wondered about that too. I think that best is being abstracted back to so our block production mechanism has to be something with probabilistic finality or whatever. Or forget exactly how they called that, but like in Bitcoin where, it can always be reverted, but it's probably not going to be reverted that deep. So I basically just pretended it was proof of work and went with longest chain. So
okay, and maybe it could change. Yeah.
Okay, so this is I guess this is enough of an example to start moving along here.
But is it possible to change if this is pre-vote? So this left branch will can it fail? Can this branch be abandoned later?
Oh, that's a good question. Can this branch be abandoned? Well, if for whatever reason, I don't know if this is possible, but just kind of thinking out loud, like let's say we finalize this fork block in this particular round, and then somehow a bunch of the votes in the next round come out, there's more stuff down here and we get a bunch of votes for these, that there might be a way to make that happen. Maybe we should try.
Can you vote on this right branch if you see majority of votes on the left branch?
In the next round, you can for sure, yeah. Because the rule for pre-voting in the next round is just that we have to build on whatever our estimate from the previous round was, which is in this hypothesis, the fork one.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, so at this point, we still have a validator whose pre-vote we haven't even seen. If that pre-vote comes out over here, it seems fairly likely that.
Oh, yeah.
that we'll end up switching.
I wouldn't think that if, after a round, everybody's pretty much seen anything, that there would be any reason for a 2/3 majority to be overtaken. I mean, there would have to be a third of the.
Yeah. So Jim, you're exactly right. Like if there's a 2/3 majority in the pre-commits, definitely that's actually the definition of finality. So that will never be overtaken. But we actually don't have 2/3 majority even in the pre-votes for anything yet beyond this this fourth block right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right, but we were saying if we finalize B, then we wouldn't look at the left, then we can drop the right. I guess.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely. Like if whatever happens in this round turns out to like finalize this block, then we'll never go back to that right branch for sure.
But it's kind of that decoupling between like the block production and like the finality, and also the votes. So people can like vote and then all agree on some previous block. And then unlike Casper, where your votes still kind of matter, really everyone only cares about that final block that everyone agrees on. And then in the next round, you're not considering any pre-votes or pre-commits from the previous round. Everybody restarts from the new finality block.
Yeah. Yep. Brand new game next round. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So let's say a pre-commit comes in at this point, and let's say that like the pink validator pre-commits down here. Let's see. So now we ask ourselves the question, do we have to update anything? So did putting a pre-commit there change our G of V? I guess that's a good place to start. So like we added this pre-commit, does that change G of V at all?
No, because it'd have to be 2/3, right?
Yeah, that's right. And a C vote isn't even in the set of V. Okay.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
So right, so that doesn't change at all. Okay, so then we can ask ourselves, does it change this E, our estimate here? And the rule was E has to be somewhere in this chain, and it has to still be, it should be as far down that chain as possible so that we can still have a supermajority in pre-commits. So do we need to move E at all based on that pre-commit?
No.
Yeah, I agree. That's right. Okay. So then let's say maybe we get another pre-commit coming in over here. So pre-commits are never going to change G of V. We can still have a 2/3 majority in pre-commits on this block. So I think we're good. Then let's say we see this orange V. Finally, we hear of this guy's vote. So now what changes, if anything?
Oh, we can go to the child of this E1.
Yeah, exactly. So we can move
on the left.
Yeah. That's what you meant, right?
Yeah, and this is caused by pre-vote, right? Not by pre-commit.
Exactly. Yeah, because now we have a supermajority of pre-votes in these three blocks. Okay, great. So next question, whenever we move a G of V or something, then we have to say like, okay, well, do we have to move our estimate now? So now the estimate, we say it has to be somewhere in this chain, as far down that chain as possible, such that it's still possible to get a supermajority for pre-commits.
Oh, I see.
So does E1 move?
Definitely.
Yeah. So E1, so move down. Okay, I feel pretty good about that. So now let's say, what pre-commits do we still need? Let's say we get a blue pre-commit that comes out up here. Pre-commit definitely doesn't change G of V. Do we have to do anything to change E? So that question basically means, is it still possible for the block that's currently labeled E to have a supermajority in pre-commits?
Yeah.
Is it the same?
Yeah, yep, I agree. Okay, so we're good. So then, oh, and we can finally add G of C to our diagram just for the heck of it. Where should that go?
I guess it's in a nil right now.
We just got our third.
Third, yeah, see that. Okay, so it would go at the blue C, or
yeah, great. Okay, I think that's right. And then let's just say we finally get this pre-commit from orange, or it comes out over here. I'm not sure there's anything that orange could have seen, whoops, to make that an honest vote, but let's just say that's what we heard. So G of V doesn't have to move. G of C doesn't have to move. How about our estimate?
it's still possible for it to, oh, not in this round.
Yeah. So I think we have to move our estimate up at this point. Back to here.
Oh, this is from this orange perspective, right?
This should be from anyone that can see all of this, because
yeah, that's right. It's like the perspective of whoever we happen to be drawing, whoever sees whatever we've drawn here.
Yeah. Who can see orange's pre-commit?
Yeah. So the intuition that I've developed so far is that as more pre-votes come in, G of V moves down the chain and E often moves down with it. But then as pre-commits come in, E sometimes moves back up the chain as it's no longer possible for these lower, more leaf-like blocks to have a supermajority for pre-commits. And then, and then the other intuition I developed is that the C votes in a particular round, the C votes will usually be higher up the chain, like further from the leaves, closer to Genesis, than the V votes, because in order to cast your C vote, your pre-commit, you're voting for something that has 2/3 majority of pre-votes. So you're never going to be quite as far down toward the leaves as the pre-votes. You're going to be back up wherever you had the supermajority last.
Mm.
Yeah.
I like this way of looking. I think this is much more clear, what's going on.
Yeah.
Because I have the same question as Jay. What is the purpose of these votes and commits, and
Yeah. Okay. Right. So, well, this is as far as I've ever got. So maybe we can just keep going at this point. But so I think what we can say now is we see supermajority in pre-commits for this block. Maybe I should label them. We'll just call this one G. Well, maybe I can put it better. Oh, damn it. G, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so now that we have supermajority in pre-commits for block 2, we can call this thing final. Boom.
Mm-hmm.
So then at this point, when we go to play, so we basically just played round 1, I guess, right? So now when we go to play round 2, we can start the diagram with block 2 at the top, because that anything, if there's like other blocks over here, we're done with those now because we finalized a block that's later than them.
So final means that there's no way that you could ever, have to refinalize it, or it will
go up.
Yeah.
We'll never have a reorg deeper than the latest finalized block. That thing's in the chain for permanent.
And that's guaranteed because you know that you have 2/3 people seeing that. I guess I'm still kind of confused about how the pre-vote and pre-commit dynamic helps guarantee finality.
Yeah. I don't feel like
it's dynamic. Yeah.
I just feel like I finally learned how to play it out.
How to play the game.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully with a little more playing, we'll start to get that. I also haven't really pretended that any of our validators are Byzantine yet.
Mm.
Yeah. I was thinking about this last night when I was running, and I was thinking about like, you know, the game of volleyball, you're supposed to be trying to like spike the ball down to the opponent's ground and like have them miss it. But like when you're first learning, you kind of try to hit it right to your opponent so you can get a volley going. So that's like the stage that I feel like I'm at.
Yeah, it's a good analogy.
Yeah. Okay. So do you guys want to like play round 2 on this game, or what do you want to move to?
Yeah, I'm thinking that now you're explained how this E and is connected to, and how can move G of C and G of V in respect to E. So I'm just trying to imagine this dynamic. You know, what can happen? What is the worst case and what is the best case? And maybe, you know, if we know what is the final position, what can happen, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe
So,
it would be much more clear how these votes and pre-votes are related and how they can.
yeah. Well, okay. So maybe we can instead of continuing this one, we can start again with a new Genesis block and like see how extreme we can make something. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
I'm more thinking of how did you conclude what happened with this dynamic?
Oh, like what was the logical steps that to calculate each of the G's and the E?
Yeah. Because you said E G of C will never G of V will never go up more than G of C.
I think that's the case. Or that's definitely the case if people are playing honestly. I'm not sure what happens if there's equivocations. So the reason I said that, Tomislav, is from step 4 here. When you vote with your pre-commit, when you cast your C vote, this is what you vote for if you're being honest. You vote for whatever had supermajority in the pre-votes.
So it has to be within that set. It can never be beyond it.
Yeah, exactly. And except in special cases where everybody pre-voted for about the same thing, it'll never even be all the way down. Like G will be, so like, for example, in our case here, G of V, like we had pre-votes way down here, you know, at block 7, but G of V didn't make it past block 3 because it needs supermajority. And so G of V is basically like the lower bound for where one can cast their pre-commit.
Interesting. That's probably a good way of looking at it as far as understanding why it's useful.
Yeah, let's try another one. And I'm just kind of making these up. So if you can think of one that might be particularly insightful, we should do it for sure.
I'm thinking if one validator want to mess with the network, you know.
Yeah. Okay. So let's play that out. I want to switch this orange color because it's too similar to pink. Maybe purple. That might be like kind of blue, but let's just see what happens. Okay, so let's say that the purple one is the evil one, and the purple validator, for whatever reason, really wants the right fork to succeed, and let's make it be a malicious attack. So based on block production, left side's longer. Probably, if everyone's honest, left side is what should be finalized, but Eve, the purple validator, wants the right side to be finalized. Okay, boom. Should we have Eve vote first, you think?
Sure. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, because the voting doesn't matter very much, right? The order of the votes.
I think that's right. Yeah. And also, now that I think about it, oh yeah. Well, yeah, now that I think about it, like one way that you can be Byzantine is to vote before 2T have passed, to like try to get your vote out first.
Yeah.
Although, yeah, Jay, I think you're right that it probably, yeah, the order doesn't probably matter very much on the pre-votes.
Yeah, because you're just deciding based on the blocks themselves.
Yeah, that's a good observation. Okay, cool. So like, let's say Eve votes here. Oops, that's not her. And I guess basically to the rest of the world, that's a statement of like, that she hasn't seen any of at least those two blocks.
Okay.
Okay, and then let's say Alice votes here.
But we are not using this information later, right? To say, you know, in that moment you said you've never seen this, and now you are saying differently.
Yeah,
Like,
that's right. Oh yeah,
it's not necessary to know this, right?
that's right. That's right. One thing that we can attribute as a fault is like, you know, if she casts another pre-vote over here, that's just a simple equivocation. But presumably she wouldn't do that. That's a way to, that's, you know, provable, and she'll get slashed for doing that. But there's no way we could attribute, like, we can't prove that she actually saw this longer chain or anything. So far I think we're good to go. Okay, so then Bob can vote. Anywhere in particular we should make Bob vote? I'll just put it here. Okay. So something special happens at that point. We now have a G of V for the first time. And as soon as we get a G of V, we also get an E. And so E is by definition either the same as G or an ancestor of G. So E will never be farther down for sure, no matter what happens. And then, so I guess at this point we could have people, so maybe Eve is going to make her pre-commit come out first too. If she were honest, she would pre-commit up here on the top fork block.
If she pre-commits on the right, though, that's a provable not true, right?
Yeah, that's Byzantine behavior because she couldn't have possibly. Oh, actually, I don't know if that's true or not. Well, yeah, it probably is. I was gonna say, like, what if Eve comes back and says, like, oh, no way, I saw Alice pre-vote over here. She must have equivocated. Like, maybe you guys just didn't see her pre-vote over here.
But she would be able to prove that, right?
Exactly. Yeah, she would have to like have the evidence of a signed message from Alice to make that. Yeah. So that doesn't. Yeah, so I think this is going to be like attributable Byzantine behavior by pre-committing there.
But maybe it's not. It's not seeing. Maybe it's you know, just say that it's not seeing this other pre-vote, the last one.
Yeah.
On the last block.
Like this one down here, you mean?
Yeah.
But you're not supposed to vote a pre-commit until you have seen a supermajority at least, right?
That's right.
But for 40 was passed. This time out was expired, so you must say something, right?
I'm wondering what happens in the case of a double spend where you end up with half the validators seeing one order and half of them seeing the other.
Yeah. So Jim, you're saying like what happens? So like maybe these two blocks conflict, for example. Like only one of those should go in the final chain because there's a double spend. One's on the left half, one's on the right half. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I'm not sure how that applies to Grandpa, but I mean, how do we know they? I mean, they have to be validated, and if they fail,
yeah.
So,
just
you see, so one side fails for half the validators, the other side fails for half the validators. So you don't have. You know, how do you know eventually you're going to have a supermajority?
Yeah. So I think that story is a perfect like use case story for why Eve might be trying to attack the chain here. So like if she's the double spender she spent some of her tokens on this left branch and got a real world good shipped to her for those tokens. Now she's trying to do a reorganization and make this spend on the right branch that, like, you know, transfers her coins to herself or to her friend or something like that. So either one of those transactions by themselves is valid. The only problem is that they're not valid together. And so that's what the consensus is going to get us here. So, like, I think if the honest parties win out, what should happen is that we should finalize blocks only down the left branch, I guess, in this case.
So you're saying the solution to this double spending will be to just choose one branch.
Yeah.
And this it's not, the double spending will not happen. But is it the problem that that double spend exists in the first place?
Well, I don't think so. So, like, in Bitcoin, the rule is, you know, when you get those Bitcoins into your account, wait 6 more blocks before you ship the real world good. And that's based on the probabilistic finality. And so here the rule is going to be, when you get those dots or whatever it is that we're keeping track of into your account, don't ship the real world good until a descendant of that block is finalized. So, like, if Eve sends out this, you know, left transaction here and the seller ships the goods immediately, that's kind of the seller's problem. They should have waited for finality either in this block or this, or, you know, a block somewhere down the chain.
But I also think on situation that, you know, for example, you must wait some time to block to finalize block. So you're not sure which branch will end up first be finalized, right?
Yeah.
So you just go to every branch and put your transaction in, and, you know, you will not double spend. You will not make a double transaction because each of these branch only one of these branch will succeed, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking that maybe you don't want to wait one branch to fail to choose another, and, you know, you just cast your transaction in every branch and just wait for the first who will succeed.
That would be ideal if you knew all the branches, but you probably, like, in a real world scenario, wouldn't see them all.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
So, Tomislav, are you trying to describe an attack vector or like a strategy as an honest participant to just get your shit finalized right away?
Yeah, just you are honest, but you want to.
You're honest. You're just
to make it. Yeah, in her. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're saying this is completely okay.
Yeah.
There is no problem with it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But in a sense, yeah. I don't think you're messing with the network, you know.
Yeah. So I mean, in the way it works in Bitcoin is that, like, these blocks represent aggregations of transactions, right? Like, there's a bunch of transactions in every block. And it might be the case that, like, one miner produced the left block and, you know, another miner produced the right block, and they're not necessarily conflicting transactions. They're like the same transaction and they are on both chains. And in that case, you don't care which one actually ends up being final. Like, you know, it's basically what you're describing without even any effort on your own part. It's just the fact that miners were competing and wanted to pick up your transaction that got it into all the branches.
And they have
I see.
Rule, right?
Sorry.
What was that, Jim?
They have the longest chain rule.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which this seems like it might be sort of like, in that the thing that you built on is going to end up being more weight. But I still don't understand how a 50-50 pre-vote would end with a super majority.
Oh, that's a really good question. Maybe we should play that out. So, like, let me just put a green pre-vote over here. So now if we're looking in terms of, like, those two branches, left and right, it's now 50-50, right? Like, we've got 2 pre-votes on the left and 2 pre-votes on the right. So, yeah, so Jim, I agree. Like, in that case, we're not ready to choose one of the branches yet because the pre-votes are split. So I mean, this is just intuition, but I think what's going to happen if we follow this game is that we're going to end up finalizing just this block. Like, we're not going to make any progress in this round.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, I was actually thinking even without that green pre-vote, um, if Eve were to act honestly and 4T time had passed, then her pre-commit would be G, which is the top one again.
Oh, that's a great point. Yeah, she doesn't have to be Byzantine on that pre-commit and risk getting in trouble.
Yeah, if she were to act honestly, then G is where it would go.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, this makes sense. What you are saying, Josh. That this isn't that double spend because these validators will not consider these blocks at all because this block is not considered as a completable, right? So who cares that you have these conflicting transactions or what?
I guess the question is, well, I don't know. I guess yeah. I guess you're not because you're saying you're not voting yet, so it doesn't matter. And we're assuming everybody sees everything each round, or nearly so.
Yeah, nearly so is right. We've set up those time periods T so that it's extremely likely that people have the majority of the information that they want.
So everybody would have a chain of equal length. I mean, it may be a different chain, but they would basically have all the blocks on the chain, right?
Yeah, so I think it's set up so that it's likely that all the validators have basically the same blockchain. Now, if there are blocks that have come up super recently, like one here or one here or whatever, maybe not everyone has those.
But you had to wait for a time period before you did anything.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And so only the leaves or the things close to the leaves will be like in flux or not fully agreed upon.
Right, but you should still have a majority agreement.
Yeah, exactly.
A
Totally.
supermajority agreement.
Okay, here's another Byzantine attack. What if you want to stop the liveness of the network? What if you want to halt the system? If Eve wanted to do that, and so she didn't pre-commit even after 4T time.
Okay, so she doesn't pre-commit at all, like ever. She's just dragging her feet.
Yeah. And I guess one other person is also doing the same.
Right. And the same thing happens if a node goes down.
In this case, we can't handle two.
It's not going to happen to more than a third of them.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's true. If they just stop, then yeah, of course you can't reach agreement.
So with 4 validators, we should be able to tolerate Eve being Byzantine, but we can't tolerate if she's teamed up with somebody, because then that's half of our validators.
Yeah. So she can't halt the network on her own.
Yeah, well, let's find out. That's what we hope.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then who hasn't pre-voted here yet? Green hasn't pre-voted. Any particular place I should put this green pre-vote?
I guess on the left side.
Yeah, okay. I guess we'll put it down here. All right. So now G moves. And I think E moves with it. So, okay, Tomislav, you're the pink validator. Where are you going to pre-commit?
I will pre-commit on the right branch.
Ooh.
I have my pre-votes right on the right, so.
You're this person.
Oh. So I cannot pre-commit on the right branch.
Well, not if you want to be honest.
Yeah.
That's up to you, man. I'm not telling you what to do.
But I must choose. Yeah, it's the same as for the blue one.
Yeah. So
I must put my vote on this, right?
This is the honest place for you to vote. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, okay, so then let's say the green person comes out and pre-commits. Ooh, so well, here's a question that I don't know the answer to. If we're, let's say we're like, we're the pink person who just pre-committed right there, and then so we observe a green pre-commit coming in right here. That seems. Oh, I was gonna say I think we can have that's like a provable Byzantine behavior on the part of green. But it actually might not be. And the reason it might not be is if someone else had equivocated and like maybe purple also pre-voted down here and green had seen that and then green decided to pre-commit.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But you should definitely see. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's only if blue had not seen purple, only green had, or
yeah.
or red. Yeah.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Or wait. If this pink person had seen these three pre-votes, then I think they also should have pre-committed down here.
Yeah. And blue would still pre-commit at V or at its own V, right?
Yeah, depends. Yeah, it depends what it has seen. Whoops.
If it had seen everything here.
If it had seen, so like this, sorry, hold on. This scenario is what we're thinking of?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if blue has seen everything here, well, then I think blue should pre-commit here too, because this is a super majority of pre-votes.
Yeah.
But your pre-commit is from your set of votes.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's weird. So it can be ahead of your pre-vote, even.
It can be ahead of your pre-vote, yeah. But it can't be ahead of like, well, I don't know if I have a precise way to say it, but it shouldn't be ahead of all the pre-votes.
Yeah. Just
or even most of them.
Above 2/3.
yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. Oh, so we didn't update these all along. Gosh, I really want to close Discord, but there's so many things in front of my tools here. Okay, so let's just move this. I think that goes here now. And then, so where does E go in this scenario?
I guess the same spot.
Yeah, I think so too. And also G of C. Oh, and we don't even have a purple pre-commit yet. I guess maybe, like you were saying, Jay, a good place for the evil person would be up there. Oh, although they're already known as evil now since we gave them 2 pre-votes.
Yeah. And so really we should discount them and then move everything up one. Move all the commits up.
That's a good question. Let's look back at that. I thought the rule was when you see pre-commits or when you see equivocations, you still count them all. So there's this note here, and it was stated somewhere else too. Sorry, that's kind of small. Note that C, the set of pre-commits, the set of pre-votes, may change with time, and also E, which is a function of those things, can change with time. If VC, oh, that's not what I was. Oh, sorry. Darn it. I thought there was a note here about like we count equivocations for everything, but that was not the note I was expecting.
I would be pretty surprised because I feel like you could attack that pretty easily by equivocating. And if you could have influence on the next round, I'm not exactly sure what you could do with it, but it just seems kind of sketchy.
Yeah, like I'm wondering if there's some kind of like suicide attack where you're going to get slashed, but it's worth it in order to affect finality in the future of the chain. Or
yeah.
So let's see if we can find that.
So if you are equivocating in one round, I mean, is this changes the behavior of this of the next rounds? How you calculate this majority of 2/3?
That's a great question. The like boxed algorithm here never says anything about slashing or validator removal. It just talks about we can tolerate having that Byzantine validator in there without it messing up the network. But then next they talk about accountable safety. And I did read this once, but it was way before I was really understanding the paper very well.
Because you know what I'm thinking. If you find out that someone is Byzantine, you don't, so in the next round you don't have what is the number of your validators? -1 or?
According to this simple like statement of the algorithm, it's just exactly the same validators. They're still in.
Okay.
Yeah, I think. I don't think like when this is implemented in like Polkadot or whatever that they're just going to leave the Byzantine ones in. I think there's a method for that, but I'm not sure what it is.
But it might even be more dangerous to remove them. I'm not sure. That might not be true, but it just seems like then you have less potential or more risk for you know your 1/3 standard changes. Like if you have 4 and then change to 3.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that
or 3 and change.
There. When we go down to 3, we can't handle any Byzantine validators anymore.
Mm.
Although, if we have 4 and 1 is known to be Byzantine, we still also can't handle any more Byzantine ones.
Yeah.
I just am remembering. Okay, so I was just remembering this equation: n plus f plus 1 over 2. I want to read that again real quick.
If we have 2 out of 3, we have a super majority, right?
I think it was supermajority was like, I don't remember if exactly 2/3 counts or if it's like 2/3 plus epsilon, like it has to be greater than 2/3. I don't remember that.
I think it's 2/3. Exactly.
Yeah, greater than or equal.
That's the basic idea of.
But I think that the half is enough. But why is 50% is not enough? I mean, you are risking to not be alive. But if you have 50%, nothing can change this other 49%.
Don't they say something about that at the top about how they have like 50% in certain cases and 2/3 for something else?
Because my understanding is that you want 2/3 to have some way to be alive.
You want 50% of the non-Byzantine.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 1/3. So that's
in the worst case, yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's a great point.
Right.
Yeah. So Tomislav, I remember you telling us about how it was like 50% was the threshold for one of the things, either safety or liveness, and 2/3 was the threshold for the other one.
Yeah. Because Vlad was explaining that, if you have 50% at one, you can definitely be sure you can have safety. But this one will, if this one fails, your consensus will stop. So you want to have this buffer so that you can be alive.
Yeah. I guess what I was trying to say is that when you have half of the validators leaning one way doesn't mean it's going to end up that way. And you can have a breakdown of the consensus if you assume that as soon as you have 51, that you don't have other people on the network that are going to bring it over that.
Or you're saying when you have 51, maybe some of them are faulty, but you don't know yet.
Yeah.
So you want to have 2/3 to be sure. Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting point. You can have what appears to be an honest voter who's only cast one vote according to the rules for a long time, but they're just waiting for the right moment to come in and equivocate.
Yeah, and maybe you didn't see this message that is a proof of equivocation for this voter.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're still thinking of the double spend, where
Mm.
you're honest, but you have a different chain.
Yeah. So, hey, okay, so we're a little bit past the hour, so I want to show you guys this exercise I wrote, and I'll post it somewhere less walled than that forum, but just to explain it real quick. So here's how the exercise that I got stuck on goes. It says around R is completable when either this condition or this condition. And then the exercise is annotate the following blockchain with votes, both pre-votes V and pre-commit C, so that Alice sees just this first condition is met. So like I tried to annotate here with my V's and C's, you know, some of them on block 2, some of them on block 3, so that G was strictly greater than E. So you can see that like over here, block G got to block 3 and E only got to block 2. So I felt like I did that. Part 2 of the exercise is, you know, the same, annotate this thing with pre-votes and pre-commits so that the other requirement for completability is met. And then part 3, annotate with pre-votes and pre-commits so that both conditions are simultaneously met. So basically, you know, the paper says around is completable if thing A or thing B. Here's an example blockchain, set it up so that only thing A, only thing B, and both. And then same exercise for another blockchain that's a little bit more interesting. It has a fork. And, you know, spoiler alert, I did pretty good with this and felt like I learned a lot, but I was actually, in hindsight, never able to satisfy this condition alone. Whenever I set it up so that that condition was satisfied, I also satisfied the other condition.
Would you post these in the chat or something?
Yeah, I'll post it. I don't remember if I did. My brilliant plan was to post them on the forum and post the link on the chat. So I'll make sure to post them on the chat, and I'll clean up the penmanship too.
Mm.
Cool.
Cool, yeah. Excited.
Nice.
Yeah, I was thinking it'd be interesting to like make a game out of this. Like, I wonder if you could make it fun, but.
Yeah, I hope so. Jay, I don't know if you ever encountered BitStory. Isaac and I made this like interactive whiteboard game where people are like mining blocks by hand to add the next word to a collaborative story.
Oh my God, it's like Mad Libs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
That's awesome. Where is that?
This is classic Joshy. He has an idea that he likes, but never really makes it look pretty. But it was, I think I can get it here. Oops. No, I'll post that too. I'll send that to you in a little bit.
Cool.
Yeah. So. All right, you guys want to call it a sesh?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Thanks a lot, Jim, as always.